On this week's show, the big E3 news roundup, Marvel superhero figure show off, and a signed JV figure giveaway. All this and more on episode number 46 of the Inside Disney Infinity podcast.
All who come to this happy place, welcome.
We have often been asked, where do we get the ideas for our story?
We really start with a blank sheet of paper.
I think that's what Infinity gives you, is the ability to be creative in a way that no one's ever seen before.
Hello, everyone. This is Will with DisneyInfinity.tv. It's Monday evening, which you know what that means. It's time for another Inside Infinity podcast, coming at you fresh from E3. And as always, my co-host Jason Haynes is joining us tonight.
G'day, Will. How are you? Excited to talk to you. This is the first time I've had a real opportunity to talk to you since E3.
What? It actually has. We've both been pretty busy, but you know what? The aftermath of E3 was pretty nuts.
I bet. So, yeah, looking forward to speaking to both of you. Let's introduce our special guest.
Our other special guest on tonight's show is the one and only Cesar Zamora from the actionfigureinsider.com, the action figure website, who was not only my gracious host while I was chilling out in LA for the week, but also there working with us and getting lots of Disney Infinity news. Cesar, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Thanks for having me. It was a great time. It was great seeing Will in person.
Yeah, it was. You know what? That was almost. I think that might have been the highlight of the show for me, is actually getting to meet this debonair gentleman. He showed us around the town. He took us to an E3 after party, a charity event, which is really cool. So yeah, man, it was a lot of fun, and I hate to say it, but I almost hated leaving you just as much as E3. I felt like we bonded.
I don't know where you got the vibe from at all.
Well, we did miss Jason, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, we do have an action-packed show ahead of you this evening. Lots to talk about, lots of E3 stuff to talk about. But before we do that, let's talk about our partner, the Disney Infinity Fans Forum. It's DisneyInfinityFans.com, the #1 forum for all of your Disney Infinity news. There's lots of great community action over there. There's news, there's rumors, there's discussion, toy box creator help, tips and tricks. I mean, pretty much everything. There's an E3 thread that's going on that is constantly updated, so make sure you check that out. Pretty much everything we're going to discuss on tonight's show will be there, so we definitely want to make sure we give a shout out to our fans. I mean, to our partners. And before we actually get to the fans, let's give some special thanks. So we had lots of help for the Disney Infinity TV group from last week, and I just want to make sure I give everyone their proper props. So first up, I'd like to thank Lim, aka Bad Gamer, who rocked the social media. He was tweeting, he was Instagramming, he was Google Plusing and Facebook. I mean, that man was on fire, and without him, we could not have gotten through last week. So Lim, thank you so much. Secondly, definitely want to thank our good friend Ben Durant, who helped keep us in the know, and he helped us quite a bit prepare for this show as we were all kind of fried from the aftermath of B3. So thank you so much, Ben. We can't wait to see more from you with Disney Infinity 2 coming up. As always, our good friend, Pirate Steven. He was also keeping us apprised of all the E3 action. You know, E3 is one of those strange sort of deals that when you're there on the show floor, you have a very narrow view of things because all you see is what's in front of you, and the rest of the internet gets to see the whole world. So Pirate kept us up to date with that. Sheriff from the forums also was working closely with us to make sure we got interviews and we were at the right place at the right time, and it's just kind of helping us spread the word with everything. So Sheriff, thank you for that. And last but not least, Cesar, I already thanked you, but I want to thank you again, man. You were awesome as we were out there, so thanks.
Good, man. It was good. It was a good time, and can't wait for next year.
Can't wait either. It's going to be a fun one. So can't wait to go back. Definitely want to say hello to all of our friends in the chat room. You can find us in the chat room and this show every Monday evening, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And we have some fun friends in there. We have Big T, Q Lanu, Elfie, 12, Infinite Mickey, Jazz 820, Joe Alva, Latin Soul, and a lurker in there that is not named. But thank you all for joining the show and chatting with us tonight. We cannot wait to bring you all of our E3 news and rumors. So with that, gents, let's go ahead and get things started. It's going to be an action-packed show, and so I want to make sure that we talk as much as we can about what we saw. And yeah, so first up, let's discuss a little bit about the show floor. So before we send it over to Jason with questions or the chat room, if you're in the chat, make sure you ask questions. We will get to them. But Caesar, this was your first time. It was both of our first time at E3. So I wanted to ask you kind of what were your thoughts of not only the event, but then also the Disney Infinity presence there?
Their booth was amazing. It was this huge set of New York, and I really dug that as a presentation. They had plenty of screens for you to play the game. You could just walk up at any time and play it at any point, either the Playsets or the toy box. It was hard for us to walk away from there and see anything else.
Yeah, it was nuts. I agree. I mean, the thing that people always say about E3 is how overwhelming it is, and it's true. But the thing that was really great, Disney Infinity had a huge presence, such a big booth, even though technically it wasn't. They consider it a booth. I don't consider it a booth. I consider it a section of the entire hall. So. But yeah, Jason, do you have some questions for Caesar or I before I really kind of give you the layout of the booth?
Not directly at this point. I guess the one thing, I watched the latest video you put up this morning. I noticed there was what seemed to me a pretty obvious reference to It's a Small World in the background of your latest interview. I guess I'd be interesting to hear if you think there was any maybe clues or allusions to alluding to anything new than 2.0 that maybe isn't announced yet. So if you could just sprinkle that into your booth tour discussion, that would be good. I'd like to know overall. Obviously, there must have been a separate section that was Disney themed outside of Marvel.
Well, great question. And actually, Caesar's keen eye may have caught a few glimpses of that. But before we do that, before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit about kind of the layout of the floor. So it was a Disney Interactive booth, which included not only Disney Infinity, some social media stuff, some meeting rooms, but it also had a little bit of the Fantasia game in there as well. You had sections of it, kind of this middle section was the toy box area, and then kind of everything around that was sprinkled sections for the playsets for both Spider-Man and the Avengers. And you saw the big kind of walkway and entranceway, and that pretty much led you straight into the playset playing area, and then you kind of go around this corner and you can see all of the toy box section. And so in the toy box section, everything else was themed Marvel superheroes, but in the toy box there was a few nods in the Disney favor, and a few that I saw that I really liked was our good friend Drew was trying to convince me to get a picture with the stand-up of Maleficent so I could send it to Jason to make him jealous. So that was one cool thing. But Caesar, I know you brought up some things that you saw lining the walls that might lead us to some Disney-related items in Disney Infinity 2.0.
Yeah, so there seems to be a new sort of trend in the game of sort of wall decorations. We've seen that in the Marvel toy box. And I noticed on the wall there at the toy box area, there was this big, somebody called it out as the Glockenspiel from It's a Small World. Mm-hmm. And there's also a painting of Mr. Toad from the Mr. Toad Wind in the Willows movie from the rack as well. and also the sort of walls enclosing the Toy Box Disney area.
Sort of decorated of like Neverland and London, so it looked like a Peter Pan.
Sky. So these were all sort of things I think we're going to see in the toy box.
Well, and you even, well, we'll get to that, but you might have even gotten a glimpse at one or two of these items actually in game, right?
I did see a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride car that was part of I think it was part of the press kit.
Okay.
You see it brief. I was playing around in the toy box at A3, and I got to ride Aladdin's Magic Carpet.
Awesome. So you actually got to jump on Aladdin's Magic Carpet and ride it.
Yeah, it's a pack. So you ride it. You ride it like a regular mount, standing up. But then when you're not using it, it gets folded up on your back.
That's so cool.
Carpet.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is.
A power disc.
Say that again?
I think it's going to be a power disc.
Okay. Well, that.
And yeah, that was really fun to play with.
Well, that's really exciting because people are really concerned about not having enough of Disney in Disney Infinity 2.0, and this event was definitely focused primarily on the Marvel superhero stuff, and most of the news that was released this week was also Marvel superhero stuff. So it's good that we got some not only teases of some Disney info, we actually got some firsthand experience, and good sleuthing there, my friend. All right. Well, before we get talking about more E3 stuff, Jason, do you have any kind of E3 questions for us so far?
I probably do. I've probably got a ton, and they're just all clashing in my head. How would you rate? I mean, again, from my perspective, I was kind of surprised. I thought they would have really sort of taken the lid off the Disney side of Infinity at the E3 show because of all the I'll use the term, but it's not necessarily what I mean. Because of all the fan backlash of like, where's the Disney? I really thought they would have pulled, shown us more of that. How do you feel that? Was that just maybe a media coverage thing? Do you feel like that they were trying to alleviate those fears and show a lot of the Disney stuff, and it maybe just didn't get out there?
Okay, so I think we might have even talked about this a little bit offline, Jason, but my thought on this is that Disney Infinity has already attracted a lot of attention from Disney fans, and presumably there are a lot of Disney fans that are also now Disney Infinity fans. E3 it's first and foremost a video game industry trade show. And so with video games, you kind of want to reach the widest potential audience that you possibly can. And I think with the established Disney Infinity brand, there exists Disney. I mean, all of 1.0 is Disney. And I think this is their opportunity, and I think they're taking that opportunity to really reach another specific type of fan base. Yes, there's going to be lots of Disney Infinity / Marvel fans, but with Marvel, you are going to also attract the attention of a lot of people that may not be Disney fans. And honestly, I think for much of the video gaming demographic, Marvel is a little more universal than Disney. There's lots of superhero video games out there, and this is kind of Disney Infinity getting a slice of that pie. So that's my kind of thought on it. I'm curious though, Caesar, because you are a pretty big comic book fan. Do you agree with me, or do you think I don't know what I'm talking about, which is often the case?
Pretty much. agree with you. I think that the big news for E3 was the Spider-Man playset, and so they sort of wanted to focus on that more than anything else. They did show a lot of some of the initial Disney themed power discs. We to see some of those, the Darkwing Duck ones. I really got excited about. They were keeping a lid on Disney because I think they're sort of staggering it like Marvel, Disney, because we got the Avengers playset sort of announcement, then the Merida Maleficent thing came out, and then now we got the Spider-Man thing. So I think maybe the next big thing that we'll see will be Disney. When I was playing with the Magic Carpet, they were like, "Yeah, can you not play with that anymore?" They don't want.
So that was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to be in there, is what you're saying?
I don't know, because then I was playing with the Gravity Falls thing, which is kittens for fists. I put it on cap, and I was killing bats with it. These kittens were coming out of my fists. It's a Gravity Falls thing. I didn't know what it was, but I was playing with it, and then this guy, Disney guy or a Marvel guy for Disney was like, can you not play with that because they don't want people seeing Disney on Marvel stuff like that. It was just weird. I saw in the loadouts for the packs and tools. I also saw Ghost Rider chain, which we saw Power Disc 4.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw a Doctor Strange Cloak of Levitation, which was worked as a glider, but when you use it as a pack, it looks like his cape, Doctor Strange's cape. And then I also saw from Treasure Planet, which is a deep cut, Jim Hawkins, like a hoverboard. It's like a hoverboard that he uses in the movie.
That's awesome.
That is.
And
that's incredible. Those are. So you basically just fulfilled quite a few wishes right there, because you not only talked about some more Disney classic stuff, but also one more Gravity Falls item, which is pretty epic.
and so clearly, Will, you may as well just stay home next year. We'll just send Caesar. He gets the scoops.
Seriously. He texted me all this stuff as I was like the next day when I'd already come home, and I'm like, how did I miss all of that? So that's really why I was there, is so Caesar could do all the work.
But I think he nailed it, and now that I think about it, I think he's totally right. Clearly, in their mindset, this was going to be the big news was going to be the announcement of the Spider-Man playset, and I just think, as an Infinity fan, I was like, well, we already knew Spider-Man was in the game because of the initial announcement trailer. So it's like, okay, yep, cool, Spider-Man playset. But I guess because it was obvious to me because I was obviously on the internet side of things, and I was trying to catch as many of the interviews and gameplay sessions that they were doing with the different media outlets, and it was very obvious that there wasn't a unified message necessarily. It wasn't always though we're only talking about the Spider-Man playset, and so we got little dribs and drabs of different bits of information coming from each interview. Some really, amazing announcements that were just thrown away, sort of in under the breath. Oh yeah, you can do this now, and you can do that now, type thing. And it became obvious to me that it's not their fault. It's just that format, the E3 format, is very difficult place to explain all the intricacies and all what are clearly tons and tons of upgrades to the toy box specifically.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about this Marvel superheroes piece of the Disney Infinity puzzle. So, like you both of you mentioned, on the show floor is like Marvel, and then there's a section that was toy box, and the toy box section was big. Don't get me wrong, but you can tell. I mean, in marketing speak, it's shoving Marvel, which is great. But the impression that I got from lots of people is that, not only from E3 but just leading up to E3, is that Disney Infinity's bread and butter is the toy box, and that is something that I think surprised them with 1.0, and I think that if I had to say there's a primary focus, then that might be it. Not from anything I've personally witnessed, because the playsets look amazing. I think the playsets are going to be a lot better this time around and a lot more full featured. But I just kept hearing over and over how much the toy box is being pushed, and how, you know what, not verbatim, it wasn't said in quotes, but I heard multiple times to the effect of, well, if you don't get a playset blank, so if you don't get a Disney blank playset, then it's going to be okay, because the toy box is going to be so full featured, you are going to be able to experience the same type of thing that you would if you had a playset. So it's an interesting dichotomy between the two, and
Well, and
it's
that's
one.
what I'm saying. I think it's frustrating that I don't feel like, as a fan, that was ample time was spent communicating that. I mean, even our own coverage, so to speak, we had, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on, meeting JV and stuff. But we had what accumulated to a 30-minute interview with JV, and we only got to cover. I mean, we covered a lot of things, but you know what I mean. There's so much information to be divulged on this new product that it's unbelievable that in a 30-minute interview we're only, barely even got onto toy box information. It's we could have spent 3-4 hours clearly speaking to the people we needed to, and not
Right.
got enough information about what's coming up, in specifics as far as the toy box is concerned.
One thing that I was, and Caesar, I'm curious about your thought on this, but based on what you just said, Jason, one thing I was very disappointed with, and it's partially the reason I think I missed some of the things Caesar saw, is that the toy box was pretty locked down. Um, it They did have some interesting items in there that they showed off, and if you're curious, make sure you check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Disney Infinity TV. Like, we saw the Stark Tower, we saw a few different road pieces, and obviously the power disc. But I really kind of had a list of things that I wanted to check out in the toy box, and there wasn't a lot there. Some of the event games and the creators and the toy box builders were both in there, and that's really cool. But that was more of a demonstration instead of kind of new items, if you know what I mean. Like the builder, the guy who made the uh, the treehouse, or the creators where you lay down the city block creator and it kind of builds you a city block. Very similar, but different at the same time. So Caesar, were you a little disappointed in what you could do in the toy box? Because to me, what they showed off wasn't much more advanced than 1.0. And again, I know this is just a demo build and it's not representative of the final game, but my point in saying this is that I think it lends to what Jason's saying with the Marvel focus at E3.
Yeah, they definitely held back, and you asked a few questions, and they didn't really want to get too much into it. You asked about the doors connecting toy boxes, and you did get some juicy bits off the record, sort of, to a degree, but for some reason, marketing strategy or release strategy is in terms of why they're holding back that information. You'd think that at E3 would be the perfect time to really show off what the toy box can do. Like I said, it was really focused on Spider-Man and Marvel. They were handing out the Marvel figures and really just trying to get that push on there. I mean, they probably converted a bunch of non-Infinity fans or non-Infinity 1 players because of now that these guys have the figures. The guys who didn't play Infinity 1 and didn't sell them on eBay are probably now going to play the game. So I think that there's, and to me, it just came across as we're holding back on this information for a reason. I don't know what the reason was. I don't know why they didn't divulge too much about what the toy box could do. But we didn't even let us get into the interiors. So part of it, which I know we're both really interested in. So I feel like there was a reason why. I don't know if there's going to be a separate event, a separate announcement, Comic-Con trailer, toy box TV. I don't know what it's going to be, but it felt like there's some sort of specific reason why we weren't shown more.
Yeah.
And certainly that much more that they could have shown us. I mean, because we know a lot about it and a lot about what's possible. We saw the builders, we've seen the creators. I don't know if you go back and watch some of the footage they showed at the Marvel event for the toy box. The builders look different. The builders that we saw in demo all were like Disney characters, whereas in the first announcement they were just kind of generic little blockhead characters. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is or what the mindset is, but yeah, they did hold back, and I'd like to know why.
Yeah, it does seem very strange that, I mean, the game's coming out pretty soon. Like, I can understand them maybe not wanting to show particular features that they're like, oh, it's touch and go, whether we're going to leave this in because it might be super buggy or whatnot, but I kind of agree. And again, it's about the messaging, because I heard from a couple of different interviews and sources confirmation of this, the doors and that linking the interiors and so on. But it's like, well, if you're gonna mention it, why wouldn't you go into detail about it, I guess?
Yeah. Well, and E3 is one of those things. It's not abnormal for game develop because a demo build is something that is completely independent of the game. So that's something they have to develop. I mean, it takes obviously assets from the game, but it's self-contained, and it's not unlike, or it's not abnormal for devs to rush to E3 to get a dev build created. So that might have played a role in it. Who really knows? But I don't know. I like Turtles in the chat room is saying Disney will most likely have its own event to talk about the Disney side. And, I heard nothing to support this at E3 or from anywhere else. But rumors that we've heard and a lot of others have heard out there is, well, maybe the Disney side of Disney Infinity 2.0 is going to include toy box only characters. Well, if that's the case, then that might be a perfect opportunity when some of these Disney characters are introduced, then to really kind of delve into the toy box area, toy box side of things as well. So
I feel like they need to. I mentioned this somewhere. I don't know where I mentioned it. Anyway, I think Nintendo killed it this year with the way they did E3. How they had, their digital, event type thing, but then having that constant stream throughout the show. Like, that's what I feel like Disney needs to do. They need to hold their own event, and I want to see a full-on, give me a 1-hour presentation on the new features of the toy box. Whether they're going to make it or not, I just think that it will be, it makes sense, doesn't it? If you're going to put all your eggs in the toy box basket, why not get the information out there as early as possible so the most talented toy box artists out there can start thinking about what they're going to do with the newest engine now. So when the game hits store shelves, they're going to get great content, hopefully within the first week or two of the game being out. So maybe the place for that is we might start to see some of this information drop at the end of the official Toy Box TV shows. That'd be kind of nice if, like, at the end of every one of those shows, we start to get information about one particular new item in the toy box.
Well, that could serve two purposes. One, it introduces new stuff for the toy box, but two, it also could also act as kind of like a basics of this toy. This is how it's used. So when the game is released, you can go back and check that out.
Yeah. And we still haven't heard anything about. I mean, let's just put this out there. There is an incredible amount of stuff they have not told us as yet. Which again, I can understand wanting to keep figures secret, characters, character release information secret. But like, what have you got to hide about the Hall of Heroes, and what have you got to hide about the sharing capabilities? I mean, JV said himself. JV said in a number of interviews, he used terms like, "We've got an upvoting system." And we are going to continue to do the top 5 toy boxes for 2.0. But the fact that he's mentioned an upvote system clearly states that they're going to have a more open sharing policy, yet we've heard no official, here's how sharing is going to work. It's all been very sort of, vague and non-official information.
Well, let's not forget, like you said, there's still quite some time before the game is released, and we were still finding out stuff in August of last year, which was the release month. And you know, they could just be spreading out the info. I I'm preferring to be optimistic and hoping it's not a sign of anything bad. I think it's just they have their plan, and whatever that plan is, whatever dictated that plan, I think they're kind of gonna stick to it. But the good news for us is that I mean E3, Jason, you and I were talking before Caesar joined us tonight that tonight's show is going to be a little different because we have so much content from E3. I mean, we don't have it would be a 4-hour podcast if we went through everything. And so throwing on Toy Box stuff on top of everything we learned this week is it's just not very practical. And so we're going to have lots of time to figure it out and to hear a lot about it. And you know what? Some of it may be also like last year that we don't actually know until we get the game in our hand. You know, some of the smaller pieces that aren't as marketable as others, we're probably going to have to wait to see on that.
Okay, I've got a question. I've got a question that's before we get onto some more specifics. This is probably, I think, probably one of the most prominent questions that there is based on you being there at E3. And can you give us, or both of you, can you give me a description in your words, because I believe you both played the PS3 or 360 version and you also played the next gen version. I really want to get an idea of what this game looks like on next gen.
Caesar, do you want to go or do you want me to go first?
I actually, for me, anything is next gen.
Okay.
So,
Oh yeah, you're running the Wii. So let's throw Caesar's hat out of the ring. So Jason, first things first, and I know this will probably make a lot of people happy. The first build I played was the 360 version, and I knew it was the 360 version because I was holding a 360 controller, but the graphics looked noticeably better even on current gen platforms. It looked like the high-res textures and the updated graphics engine for the next gen is also being used in part in the current version, which is great. I mean, I was really excited to see that. It's like at first, I mean, I even remember looking to Caesar. I was like, wow, this looks like we're playing on next gen, so that's cool. The next gen version does look awesome. I mean, it looks better. I never really had a problem with the way the current version looks, but definitely higher resolutions, much more detail. Yeah, it made me super excited to play. I played it on Xbox.
It also looked like to me. Sorry, it also looked like to me that things loaded a lot faster. Can you speak to the load times?
Not really, because load times were Caesar and we got to see a load time, and I even showed part of it on the video. But one of the builds crashed when we were playing it. Which again, it's demo build. It has no indicator on the game itself. So we got to see it load up, but we didn't really get to see anything else load up or the other places.
What about switching characters though and power disc, like as far as the recognized time and as far as time from putting a disc or character down to being able to play with that character?
That was definitely more fluid. Do you remember, do you know how in one, when you put it down, the animation happens on screen almost immediately, but it kind of stutters for a second. It freezes for a moment. Completely fluid. It's just like you set it down and it just goes, and it just pops up.
Nice.
So that was really cool. So yeah, I mean, definitely excited about that. But if you're on a current gen system, then don't worry. You're actually going to be getting an upgrade in the new engine as well. So, Jason, before we move on, I think we are going to try to cover some news of the week, kind of E3 related from a top-down perspective, and then we'll get in the nitty-gritty and expand in future shows. But before we kind of move on past our E3 experience, Jason, do you have any other questions for us?
Tons, but let's move on, and I'll ask them if something comes up. Something comes up that's relevant.
Caesar, do you have anything that you would like to add that before we move on, specific about the show?
No, I think we have a lot to talk about. And Jason, you missed a heck of an E3, man.
Yes, you did. The only last thing that I want to say about the show is that one thing that, as a fan, I was really happy about was uh, Disney Infinity consumed a lot of floor space. They were just as big as Ubisoft or just as big as EA. The only ones that it wasn't large as or larger than were the Microsoft and the Sony booths. So they definitely wanted to show themselves off at E3, and I think they did that in a great way. So the presentations. I don't know if you saw the life-size Iron Man suits that were there. That were so cool, but they were still modeled after the game. Those were awesome. So we got some video of that on our channel. So one thing I did want to say, Latin Soul made me think of this too. Latin Soul is asking me, when we spoke to JV, did he hint at doing an event like they did in Times Square last year? No, he gave us no hints about that, but we did hear hints, and he even mentioned it in our interview that we will be hearing or seeing more Disney characters soon. Who knows what soon is? We heard another part of the show floor that soon could be around Comic-Con. Personally, I don't think we're going to see any Disney stuff at Comic-Con. I think we'll see more Marvel Infinity stuff. But it wouldn't surprise me if either right before Comic-Con to appease Disney fans that they would show off some more Disney stuff, or right after. So just wanted to throw that last piece out there. All right, gents. Well, let's go ahead and get to the news. So anyone that was a Disney fan watching the news last week, you know there's a ton of stuff that dropped. And so what this show is going to do, since we just talked about our E3 impressions, now we're going to discuss just, again, from a top-down view of it. We're going to go through items quickly, kind of as bullet points. We might pull out small pieces of that to expand on, but this is going to be fuel for any future show, as we are going to break down each one of these sections in a upcoming show in the very near future. So with that, let's go ahead and start about the first thing. So Disney made a splash even before E3 started, technically. It looks like they are in partnership with Sony, which is a great move. Sony is getting not only a collector's edition, which includes an awesome collector's base, and JV actually described that base to us, but I'm going to bring up a photo of that base. I'm going to bring it up right now. So this was actually the press conference. And so it is kind of hard to, I mean, it's blurry because it was zoomed in, but this is what the collector's base looks like, and what it includes is pretty impressive. Unfortunately, unlike Hulk, this is not going to be a timed exclusive. This is only going to be on the Sony PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, but it doesn't mean you can't collect the base anyway. So what you're looking at here, this is a Frost Giant with frost coming out of the ground. The base lights up, and this collector's edition also includes every one of the Avenger figures. So we can see there's Hulk. I can't even make them all out, but this should include all of the Avenger characters. So they haven't released a price on that yet, but I'm sure we will find out soon enough. Another piece that they discussed during the Sony press conference is that Hulk is going to be a 30-day or a timed exclusive for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. What that means, I have no idea. Actually, what that means is that I think the only way you can get is this collector's edition to start off, and then 30 days after that, he's going to be released as a separate figure. Again, that's a timed exclusive. Except for that man right there. He was lucky enough to get one from the superhero selfie. Real quick, what's your thoughts on that, Caesar? I know it was one of your favorite and most looking forward to character.
The thoughts about the collector's edition?
Yeah, no, your Hulk figure.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome, man. I'm really happy about
Oh, hold on. We lost you.
I can't wait to play with him in game. I'm kind of saving that for the game. I could have put him at E3, and I chose not to. So
That's awesome. Yeah, he's a cool character, and his weight is massive. Oop.
Yeah, I take pictures with.
My figures on my dog's head, and I put the Hulk on there. You could tell that it was visibly heavy for her head.
Well, he really is the largest character that they have released yet. So, I mean, he even puts Wreck-It Ralph, Sully, and Mr. Incredible to shame. So, if you want, though, you wrote an article about the figures you got, including Hulk, and compared them in size at Action Figure Insider, didn't you?
Yeah, I took pictures and did a review as best I could on the figures without having played with them, and they're great. I mean, the shots came out pretty good, and I get some good feedback on that.
Awesome. Well, cool. So that was exciting news. We also got some other Sony-related news. So there's going to be a PlayStation Vita version, which is cool, and it is going to be a full-featured version, not like the 3DS version of last time. The Vita version is also going to include a Bluetooth base, which is awesome. Personally, I hope that's an indicator that we might eventually get a Bluetooth wireless base that is rechargeable, but not sure if that is going to happen. We found out anecdotally, we randomly spoke to another dev on the show floor for the 3DS version, the Wii version, and the iOS version, and apparently this base had been in development for a while and it's been finished. So I think they've just been kind of waiting, biding their time to release that. So it's cool. Hopefully, again, we get that for the other systems as well. Speaking of the iOS version, the next version 2.0 will be a separate download. It's not going to be an upgrade to the current one. And it's also, as of right now, not going to support physical controllers. Apple really pushed MFI controllers last year, but unfortunately, we're not going to get that.
I wonder if that'll support the Bluetooth base.
Well, can I jump in? So you're talking about Heavy Iron Studios is the guy we spoke to.
Yeah. No, I don't know. No names, but yes, continue.
Anyway, so he's the guy who the studio that did the Wii version and they did the iOS version, and he confirmed that the 2.0 iPad version is going to be a separate download. And Jason, you've always asked about this, and Will confirmed that the iPad version version of the game. Remember, Will, you asked us that, and he was able to confirm that. And it would be cool if the Bluetooth base could work with iPad, but I don't know if that would be possible.
Yeah, I would prefer that as well.
Well, I would prefer either do that or don't give me the Bluetooth base for the Vita version. Allow me to have the same virtual base in the Vita version that's in the on the iPad app.
That's a great point too. That's a really good idea.
Because it's not like a Vita is a portable device. You don't want to have to carry a Bluetooth base with you if you're traveling in the car, or when I fly to the US at the end of the year, do I have to pack my base and figures in my backpack so I can play Disney Infinity on the flight to Orlando? You know what I mean? That seems a bit silly. I like the idea of supporting that as an option, but I think you should always have the virtual base in portable formats. People travel on the bus, on commutes and stuff. If you're going to work, you want to build a toy box or something on the way to work, you don't have to carry a base and figure around with you.
Right. Yeah, but it gets those people buying the figures. But I agree with you. I mean, I think as a consumer, it makes more sense to have the digital.
We'll touch on that on future shows.
Yep. So JV clarified something about the digital upgrade version. So this version is going to come out post-launch. So for anyone who is upgrading from their current base, which we also got confirmation that can be, the PS3 can use the PS4 base, the 360 cannot use the Xbox One base. This is something I think is on Microsoft's end, because Microsoft has some weird proprietary USB stuff in the 360. So that's unfortunate, but if you are upgrading one of the compatible versions, you will have to wait until after launch. They didn't say when, but sometime after launch, the digital upgrade version will be available, and it will be a toy box version, which will include assets from the playsets digitally. You will just have to unlock those pieces in separate packs that you buy. Continuing on the news, and again, we're going to expand on that later. PDP was there showing off new accessories. They had some new stuff. Probably the biggest point there is that they got rid of these guys right here, these folder type, well, these trifolds where you stick the disc in. They are now going with kind of a baseball binder with where you open it up and you have the sleeves that you drop the power disc into. So that will probably make it a lot easier. Personally, it didn't look as good to me, but it will be a lot easier to manage. Lots of other DI accessories, including a headset as well. And we actually got to see that in our interview with JV. Jason, did you have a question?
I did. Forgotten it. Move on.
Okay. So we learned about some new figures. Obviously, we knew about the two Disney characters, Merida and Maleficent. We also got we learned about some new Spider-Man figures, and those figures included Venom, that guy right there. Included, who are the others? Because I always get the names mixed up, Caesar. So who else from the Spider-Man playset?
Well, Nick Fury was announced as part of the Spider-Man playset. Venom Spider-Man. Nova comes in the playset pack with Spider-Man and Iron Fist.
Cool.
And they are currently on the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show. They are all sort of on a team along with Luke Cage and White Tiger, which are non-playable. Luke Cage and White Tiger are both non-playable characters in the game. Luke Cage is a mission giver, and I saw White Tiger as a team-up cowardice.
That's awesome. So you actually got to see some of those things in game.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so that's exciting. So some more characters leaked too, and this was actually was an accident, and it's been leaked before, but I don't know if you can see it on screen, but this is one of the power disc packs that we got. And if you can see there through the glare, you see multiple Guardians of the Galaxy characters. So we have, I think we have all of them, right? You remember, so we have Groot, Rocket Raccoon, Star-Lord, who else?
Gamora.
And Mara.
Drax and Gamora.
Drax and Gamora. So, that was funny. I mean, it's really small, so you can't really see him all that well. Rocket Raccoon looks awesome. But yeah.
The leaks have been incredible, haven't they? I'm sure they're having a great time. They were really cagey during the whole show that there was no announcement given, right? There was no date announced. And yet people were tweeting about, there was obviously a retailer or something on the show floor doing pre-orders for the game that had the release date on it.
Well, the second day we were there, Caesar, you went and pre-ordered at Toys R Us, didn't you?
Yeah, the pre-order day opened on the 10th, I believe, and so I went the next day to Toys R Us, and I got a pre-order card. You tweeted it, and the date, the release date says September 23rd, but it also says on the pre-order card, date subject to change. So Disney doesn't have to confirm that date yet, and they sort of keep saying fall. And for whatever reason, I think they're just playing it safe, and that's smart of them. And but I don't know what's the next thing you want to talk about, but going on to that sort of release date sort of stuff, are we going to talk about the Walmart stuff or some of that was sort of leaked because of pre-orders that's going on?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have no idea what you just said. I got distracted by the chat room.
We're talking about the Walmart leaks.
Yeah. I mean, lots of retailer leaks, and I think that's something that's a constant battle because that's something that's completely out of their control. They have to rely on retailers to an extent. I mean, even JV in our interview, he's like, yeah, so we had quite the interesting conversation with Target this morning. I thought that was pretty funny and candid. So those are figures. if you want to learn more about these figures, make sure you check out Caesar's article. We'll post it in the show notes and in the chat room. But also go and check out, we did a first look on the Venom character, Captain America, and Nick Fury because we got those pieces while we were there. And yeah, so check out our YouTube for that stuff. So moving on past figures, JV also mentioned in an interview with Giant Bomb that future figures may ship that are not on the disc and they would be downloadable, which that's a really cool thing because data mining is a thing, and we learned a lot about what was in Disney Infinity 1 through data mining and looking through the data files on the disc. So just because it's not on the disc doesn't mean hopefully it won't eventually one day show up on the disc. So we, yeah, go ahead.
Can I want to mention one thing about the figures? So if you do the math on the figures that we now know about, including the Guardians of the Galaxy figures, that's 16 official Marvel characters. In your interview with JV, he said we're getting over 20.
Mm-hmm.
So that's somewhere between 4 to a million. But so we're getting over 20. So and we asked about villains. So we don't know if maybe that means that those slots, those remaining Marvel characters, are going to be the villains that we haven't seen. Some people are speculating that it could be Hero and Baymax, which were the Marvel part of the Walmart sort of retailer leaks of those two Big Hero 6 characters, which are technically Marvel. But I think in this instance, I think they're considered Disney. So I don't know if we can consider those as part of the Marvel releases.
Yeah, that would be pretty exciting. I mean, he was kind of cagey when you asked him the question about that. So hopefully that will in fact lead to some villains. Cool. So there's lots of new info on on figures in general, how they level up, their uses in the game, how speccing and abilities come about in game. But you'll have to stay tuned for a future episode on that. Now we're going to talk about playsets and some things we learned about playsets. So obviously they announced the Spider-Man playset while we were there. One thing that we got confirmation of that was a long-standing question in the community, and it was a sad answer. So the way playsets from Disney Infinity 1 are going to work in 2 is basically just the playset piece. When you put down a playset piece, it's going to unlock every toy that works in the toy box with that playset. There is going to be no forward compatibility with the stories of the playset, and I know that's something that was kind of disheartening. We also got some other info on the show floor, and this is also a kind of a disappointing one, but we are being told that although they're still looking at it, as of right now, it doesn't look like playsets are going to be online co-op, which is a huge bummer. Really sad about that because I was really hoping for some online co-op. There's new sparks in the game. There's different sparks. We'll talk about that on a future show as well, but it does sound interesting. Now let's discuss a little bit about the toy box. So one cool thing about the toy box, and JV mentioned this, that Avalanche worked really hard. And I know this will make friends of the show, toy box artists, especially Pirate Steve, toy box winners are going to be downloadable come 2.0. So day one, even if you haven't gotten into the Toy Box to make stuff, you will be able to jump right in there and have toy boxes to play in Disney Infinity 2.0. So that's exciting. We learned quite a bit about cameras are going to be available in the game. There are going to be speech bubbles. There's going to be cinematic cameras. One that I specifically saw on the show floor and I played around with was not necessarily a cinematic one, but it was kind of the Diablo over-the-shoulder high dungeon crawler camera. So it does look like you are going to be able to make stories in the game now, which is pretty awesome. So can't wait to see how that is done, and with the speech bubbles. So that was spoken on a GameSpot article. It said you can even insert speech bubbles, though doing so requires an internet connection, so that is appropriateness of your text can be verified. So that's interesting. You have to have internet connection for speech bubbles, so it can be censored more or less. It is a family-friendly game. Another huge piece of the toy box puzzle is there's going to be no more spins. We will discuss this at length at a later show, but you will be purchasing spins in a toy store. Jason, I know that's going to make you happy.
Yes, I did. I did hear the toy store mentioned, and brilliant idea. What can I say?
Yeah. So some more good news. Now let's move on to Power Disc. Power Disc, there's going to be lots of them. There's going to be 40 Marvel Power Disc. There's going to be 40 Disney Power Disc. So right there, that should tell you that they are committed to Disney. If they're giving just as many Power Disc for Disney as they are Marvel. We also learned a little bit about the costume change disc, the power-up disc. Caesar, you asked specifically about how the costume change disc works with figures that, it's like, say the Captain costume change disc is used under Nick Fury. What happens then?
I don't know specifically what happens, but I do know that it'll work. It'll give him some sort of boost and power-up. It's still a power-up disc. It just so happens that it has that added feature that when you're using it with the specific character that it goes to, that it'll give them a costume change. And we saw, I only got to play with I got to play with two. I got to play with the Spider-Man one, getting the black suit Spider-Man, and I saw the Captain World War II costume, which I thought was great. It's my favorite Iron Man Captain America costume. You know, he uses it in Winter Soldier. It's a great costume. I believe I read somewhere that the Iron Fist gets also a costume change disc, and the Hulk, of course, and so does Iron Man. I think what's more interesting is that we learned from JV in that interview that the power discs that are costume change and sidekicks will also be on the Disney side as well. So this new sort of type of power disc will carry over into the Disney power discs. We haven't seen what or which ones those are going to be, but I thought that was pretty exciting.
That is very exciting. So costume and team up disc are confirmed for Disney characters as well. That's gonna. Can you imagine the possibilities with that? That will be awesome.
Yeah.
A few other items about the power disc before we wrap things up. So JV specifically mentioned it in our interview. Duplicates now have a purpose. So when you put a duplicate power disc down for the very first time, you will get an experience boost for that play session. When you take those discs off, that experience buff will no longer be there, but having multiple, you will no longer be able to use those same two discs to create that XP buff boost, and so that's cool. It gives us a reason to even trade, but provide some value to the current disc that you own. The last piece of the power disc conversation for now is structured play disc. So the I don't know what we call them really, but the adventure play discs, the play discs that are specific for structured play, those are outside of the other 80 power disc, and they will not be blind bags, which is great, and that makes a lot of sense. So everyone, that is kind of our E3 post show. Again, you're gonna have to stay tuned for more in-depth coverage on that. If you want to go ahead and find out lots more now, you can do that on our YouTube channel. We have a 30-minute long JV interview where he gives us some great information. Last night we posted kind of an E3 wrap-up, which has lots of footage from the show floor, shows Merida in-game, it shows the Darkwing Duck motorcycle, and we also got to interview one of the producers for Disney Infinity, and he talked to us about lots of things, but some of the highlights there were the builders and the creators. Before we start wrapping up things, Caesar, did you have anything else from E3 that you wanted to mention? Because yeah, I mean, you were there, you got to live it. So any things that we missed that are highlights that you wanted to discuss?
No, I think we covered a lot, and I mean, your JV interview is great, and then the interview you just mentioned with the producer also covered a lot of ground. No, I mean, it was a great experience. I think they gave us enough information, but not all of it, and they're just keeping us in anticipation, and yeah, I'm very excited for what's next, what they're going to show us next, and yeah, it was a great experience, and I can't wait to play the Playsets, and I can't wait to play in the toy box, and I can't wait to see all the other figures, and I can't wait to have Donald Duck fight the Hulk, and yeah, I'm just very excited, and I can't wait to see what else we got.
Yeah, exciting times ahead. Yeah. Well, and thank you so much for both interviews because you helped out a lot asking questions that I hadn't thought of. So we got lots of info from you. So thanks for that. Jason,
No problem, man.
do you have any E3 stuff before we talk about the giveaway that we are going to be having?
No, I just want to say, based on what I saw, I think it's clear that the Marvel fans are going to get equal treatment that we got in 1.0 with all the fan service. They're really, all the different, even those costume changes, that's really great for the Marvel fans to have those options, and clearly characters that are, little less known, so to speak, and I just think our turns are coming, so to speak. Just from the few things that we learnt about today about Toad's vehicle and the magic carpet, those sorts of things alone are going to be awesome. We didn't even discuss the announced Disney power disc with the electrical parade float and the Lion King stuff, but we just got so much content to talk about in the next coming weeks. We'll make that wait for the next big announcement nice and easy for the fans.
Yeah, and both of those can be seen in that interview with the E3 show stuff last night. So you see Maleficent's spellcast, and you also see the electrical parade vehicle slightly. So you can go check that out. So we did want to celebrate. We didn't get a whole lot from Disney Infinity while we were there, but we did get a few things, and we wanted to share in our excitement with E3 and Disney Infinity 2.0. So we do have a couple giveaways. The rules are the same as last time. All you have to do is you just have to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Disney Infinity TV, and comment in the show thread for this episode, so episode number 46 on the DisneyInfinityFans.com forum. We have our own section there, and so you want to comment there. So if you're not a forum member already, you must do so and go sign up there. And just say that you listened to the show and you enjoyed it. You just have to comment in that thread. No question today. I want to make it kind of easy for everyone. So what we're giving away, we have a few small items. First up, we have these PDP. I don't know. They're holders for a couple power disc, and they have a loop on them, so you can put them on a belt or something. And then we also got this, which are a digital code for the glow-in-the-dark buzz. Caesar and I, we tested this. It does work on the iPad. So, yeah, you don't have to play just on the PC, but it works on PC and iPad. So there you go. You can get that. So we're giving away a couple of those. But the grand prize for this, so for those that listen to the show or follow us on Twitter, you may know that two of JV's favorite characters, current Disney Infinity 1 characters, are Elsa and Wreck-It Ralph. So I brought with me a Wreck-It Ralph figure there. I figured he would be a good one and an easy one for JV to sign. So the grand prize winner will include this Wreck-It Ralph figure, and I don't know if you can see it on the back there, but it has JV's signature on the back. So you can get yourself one of JV's favorite characters signed by the man himself. So again, to enter, just go to the forums and comment on the thread for episode number 46 and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So we appreciate everyone who listens to this show and who listens every week. If you like us, go ahead and drop us a line. You can hit us up at info@DisneyInfinity.tv. You can always comment on any of our social networking areas. Want to say thanks to everyone in the chat room again. We really appreciate and love seeing all of you there, and those that reach out to us offline as well. We appreciate that. So if you want to listen to us in audio form, you can do that on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. Stitcher Radio is device agnostic. And if you like us, subscribe, send us a note, say nice words to us. We really appreciate it, and it helps. So with that, gentlemen, I think we're going to wrap things up. First off, Caesar, again, I want to thank you so much for not only being such a gracious host on while we were out there in LA, but also just having just one heck of a time checking out Disney Infinity and hanging out. So again, thank you for that, and I hope you enjoyed being on this week's show.
Yeah, man, it was great. I had a good time, and look forward to doing it again, and look forward to having you out here again. We've got to do a Disney trip at some point. But thanks, man. It was really great, and without your help and your friend Greg's help, I wouldn't have gotten the figures that I got, and I really appreciate it. And it was a good time had by all.
Well, awesome. So Caesar is kind of a pseudo-celebrity. He not only writes for actionfigureinsider.com, but he also does a lot of fun other stuff. So he's been added to the roster as one of our rotating co-hosts. So we're excited to have you on board as well as there too. Plus, you're a Marvel guy, so like you have lots of this info that Jason and I are scratching our head. We're like, Marvel what? So, well, cool, buddy. Well, again, thank you. Jason, my buddy, my friend, my mate.
Yeah, mate.
You have
mate.
Great show, and you rocked it, holding down the fort away from E3. We definitely missed you, but we did. Thank you so much for doing everything that you did here and helping us, supporting us while we were there on the show floor.
Yeah, well, maybe next time I'll be there. We'll see.
So before we sign off, do you have just a few more? Oops, got to mute. Just a couple more shout outs. So first off, I want to say thank you to a few people at E3. I want to say hello to Allison. It was so nice meeting you, and we love seeing you every week on Toy Box TV. Also want to say John Day, he's gracious enough to sit and chat with us. We interrupted him as he was moving from one place to another, and he's an awesome guy, very, very nice and welcoming, and spoke to us for a few minutes. So John Day, thank you so much for speaking with us as well. Want to give a huge shout out to Scott, who helped us with JV. He's awesome, and without him we couldn't have met JV, so that was really great as well. Wanted to say hello to Matt, one of the devs who walked us through info on the show floor and knows a lot about us. He's heard our show, and he knows a lot about the game. So, and he actually worked on a lot of the Spider-Man stuff, so that was really cool. Last but not least, Mr. John Vignacchi, JV, took more than enough time to speak with us, and we could not be more appreciative. And it's not just us on the show, but I know all the fans out there really appreciated hearing what he had to say and him clearing up some things. And he really listens to all of us. So you know what? Just keep saying what you're saying about Disney Infinity. They're really listening to what the fans in the community has to say. So with that, everyone, just want to thank you once again. We had such a great show, and until next time, we hope your week is filled with infinite possibilities.